Hey everybody, I'm Dee Lisa. I'm the dream doula for women. I help women live their best life.
And I'm Cristina Spataro. I'm a psychotherapist and relationship coach for everybody. And I also want you to live your best life too.
Today I was thinking about crying and other strong emotions. I mean, there's so many strong emotions. You can have anger, you can have fear, you have
Mm-hmm.
sadness or grief, but tears come connected to so many different emotions. And as adults, we often don't give ourselves permission to cry.
Yes, I love that we're speaking about this because I do think that as we've become more open to the idea of people seeking therapy and stuff like that, there is more of an acceptance, but there is still this stigma of, oh, well, if you're strong, you need to suck it up and be stoic. No, not at all. Actually, being able to cry, being able to release that emotion, being affected by things in life, that's actually healthy. That
Mm,
means you're
mm,
in touch with yourself, you're in touch with what's going on around you. This is where people get scared, and I've definitely had clients struggle with this. They're afraid if they let out the uncomfortable emotion that they won't be able to stop it. So if I start crying, like maybe some bad stuff is going on in their life, they're afraid that if I start crying, I won't be able to stop. Or they're worried, well, if I let myself feel sad or angry about this, I won't be able to stop. But here's the thing, you're already sad or angry, you're already feeling the emotion. So pretending you don't doesn't make you not feel it. It just makes you deny yourself, which in turn makes you less able to take care of yourself when you need to.
All right. Haven't you been with someone who's like, I'm not mad,
Oh, yeah.
as they look at you angrily? I'm
Oh,
not
yeah.
mad. What are you talking about? When I
Exactly.
was a kid, I was told not to cry.
Mm.
Stop crying right now. Have you ever seen a little tiny kid and tell them to stop crying? They can't stop crying. Their body is
Exactly.
crying and they're in the middle of crying. And I remember
Yes.
one specific day where my mom was like, you stop crying or I'm going to give you something to cry about. And I was like,
And that's going to make you cry more, you poor
I
baby.
can't. I said I could hardly speak between the sobs, and I was,
Oh.
can't stop. And she's like, yes, you can. Yes, you can. That's the whole memory. I don't remember what happened next. Did she give me something to cry about? Did I stop crying? I don't know. I just remembered saying, I can't stop crying because I was right in the middle of a big emotion.
Hmm.
And I don't think that that's how people parent their children now. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. I think there is more awareness, although working as a therapist, unfortunately, for some people, that still is going on. But yes, accepting your big emotions. And I read an article once where they talked about how people are uncomfortable with crying
Mm.
because they don't know what to do with it. So the article spoke of how, like when someone's crying, all you want to do is give them a tissue, make it stop, rather than what would you happen if you let the person actually release it? What would
Oh,
happen?
yeah. Whew.
Yeah. If you let the person actually release it, or if the parent says to the child, and I'm so sorry your mom did that, I think she was probably reflecting to what she was told and what she was taught. But how wonderful when we have a child to be able to say to them, show, first of all, validate the feelings. Yes, kids might get upset over things that, objectively speaking, as adults, we don't see as a big deal. But for them, at their age, at their point in time, this is a big deal. So part of
Yeah.
being a parent is acknowledging that, saying, I can
Hmm.
see you're really upset about this. And you know what? I understand that you really wanted to fill in the blank.
Oh, yeah. I remember a time when my kids were, I don't know how old they were, 8, 6, something like that. And there were two bikes and two visiting cousins. And
Mm.
we decided to go for a bike walk ride around the neighborhood. And one of the little cousins says, I want to ride the bike. But other kids were on the bike right then. And he just started crying and crying and crying. And I remember thinking, what is this dad doing? He leaned down and he said, son, I know you're upset. Come here. Let me give you a hug.
Oh.
And then he said, "You'll get your turn soon."
Good dad.
And I
Very
thought,
good
because
dad.
in the back of my mind, I'm like, make him stop crying. Because that was my upbringing. Like, stop crying, stop it. But he did the perfect thing. He comforted
Yes.
the kid. We worked it out that that kid could get on one of the bikes the next block over, and everybody was happy. And that little kid got to feel sad and move through his emotions. But how do we do
Yes.
that as adults? Who's going to comfort us when we're crying as adults? Sometimes we have to comfort ourselves.
That's true. We have to comfort ourselves. We have to tell ourselves it's okay to be sad
Hmm.
and it's okay to feel this. And this is where hopefully we have a good support system. We have friends that we could go to and say, listen, I'm really sad right now. And hopefully we have friends that will listen. You know, this is also where you and I come in, me as a therapist, you as a coach. I can't tell you how many people have come to me. Basically, they'll spend part of the beginning session crying because they haven't been allowed to let it out.
Mm,
And,
yeah.
and then I give them permission for that. I'm like, it's okay. You're right. I can't imagine that must have been very painful when that person cut you out, or that must have really hurt when, that relationship ended. And I'm giving them permission to cry.
Yeah, there's something called compassionate listening, which Christina and I both know how to do. And it's not just giving somebody feedback on what they should do next. It's not giving them advice. It's not giving them anything except listening.
Yeah.
That might be one of the most healing things that anyone in the coaching, therapy, or healing arts does for someone is to be a compassionate listener.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, years ago, I was in group therapy. And one of the things I remember the most is this one of the guys came to group and he said, I want to work on my sadness about this or that today. And I brought a song. He was also a
Oh,
DJ. So he
cool.
brought a boom box in and he played this song that made him feel sad so he could get in touch with his sad and cry in this group setting. And one of the therapists said to him, "What a great prompt. I'm glad you brought that song." Because I think as adults, we can feel sad, but we can't really tap into that sad or release it or let the tears flow. But if we watch a sad movie or listen to a sad song,
Mm-hmm.
we can absolutely go there and just cry a little bit
Yes,
or feel the sad and let it move through us.
absolutely. You know, when we try to say, well, this emotion is good or this emotion is bad, no, they're all part of the human condition.
Yes.
And there was another research thing that was showing that actually, and I totally understand the temptation, but that a lot of parents want to keep their kids in the happy zone.
Mhm.
So this is
Mhm.
why, whether it's scheduling activities or doing things or preventing disappointments, they must be happy. But dealing with disappointments, dealing with sadness, unfortunately, is a fact of living in this world.
True.
And we're not doing our kids a favor if we don't teach them how to deal with it. Then they just become, honestly, obnoxious adults who scream and get mad and act out when they don't get their way.
Yes, I've also noticed for myself anyway, a lot of the anger that I felt and held on to in my life
Mm-hmm.
was really covering up a deep sadness or grief.
Mm-hmm.
So it's totally okay to be angry in our society.
Oh,
You want to be mad, you
100%.
want to be angry? Cool.
Yeah,
Especially if you're a
cool.
man. You want to be mad, you want to be angry? Good. Yell, break things, throw things, be upset. Um, that somehow is okay. But, walk around as a man and cry? Not okay in
Right.
most societies.
It's true. I remember when I was a newly minted therapist, and and my first supervisor who was excellent, excellent mentor, and we were talking about how a lot of the young boys we were working with who were getting into fights at school, who were like showing just all this anger stuff.
Hmm.
He was saying, be careful. A lot of that anger is really masking depression
Oh,
because getting mad as a little boy is societally acceptable, but being
yeah.
sad is not.
Yeah, boys don't cry.
Boys don't cry, but they do. And it's okay. And I love that it was the father telling that little boy, I know you're sad. Don't
Yeah,
worry, you'll get your turn. I love that it was the father showing that to his son. It was the
yeah.
father teaching his son empathy and compassion. We talk about empathy and how you have people in society doing all kinds of terrible things and lack of empathy. But where do you think they learn it? They learn lack of empathy because when they had these big feelings, how we learn empathy honestly begins in childhood. When we have these big feelings, how we were talked to, how we were responded to, impacted how we could be empathetic towards others.
Yeah, yeah. My father grew up in Finland, and the Finns are uh, famous for a couple of things: saunas, vodka, I think, and being stoic. So,
Mm,
not showing their feelings. In fact, it would be very unusual, especially in the older generation, that they would talk about their feelings. That just
mm-hmm,
wouldn't be done.
mm-hmm,
And so, yeah, I grew up with don't show your emotions unless you're
mm-hmm.
happy. Happy emotions are okay.
Yep.
Sad, anger, fear, take those out. Don't,
Mm,
buck it up. Don't talk about it. Go deal with it later.
yep.
So yeah, how you learn how to have emotions and deal with emotions in your family of origin kind of sets the mood for the rest of your life.
Yes, it does. It absolutely sets the mood.
And sometimes it's very dysfunctional.
Yeah.
Mm.
Very, very dysfunctional. So, to the listeners out there, those who are parents, understand your kids are going to get sad. They're going to get angry about things that you may not think are a big deal. But for them, in that moment, it's a big deal. Please treat it as such and don't diminish it or diminish what they're feeling. And for all adults out there, it is okay to be angry, but it's also okay to be sad. And honor your feelings, but make sure in the honoring of the feelings, you're also respecting the feelings of others too.
Mm. Beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you, Christina, as always. It was a good chat.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.